I've long had the feeling that everything has a grain of truth in it, from the most outlandish of folk tales to the most debated of scientific discoveries. It's a good mindset to have whilst trying to find the middle ground in a debate, instead of flatly saying that one side is completely wrong. Expanding on this, we can start to see links between old beliefs, new discoveries, and the speculation that links them together. One thing that stands out to me is often the origins of all manner of festivals that we have today. Some that are so ingrained into our life that we barely even think of where they come from. But some of them have very interesting origins that go back beyond what some people might think is the main Christian base. So that's what we're going to do. Not just in this video, but in the rolling series that will come out of it. This is part of the history of ideas. We're going to start off with Halloween. Now, I've never had much interest in Halloween per se. When growing up, me and my brothers never went trick-or-treating, and we treated those who did like door-to-door salespeople or cold callers, stuff from knocking. Like many major festivals, the original meaning behind All Hallows and All Souls has been lost in the wave of capitalism. But what not many people know is that the deeper meaning behind the original festival goes back a lot further than we expect, going all the way back to the ancient Celts and other faiths. In order to find out how we got from the Christian Day of Remembrance to the annual night of horror best dress-up that we know today, we need to go back before Christianity reached the shores of Albion. Back then, it was the Celtic winter festival of Samhain. Many people pronounce it Samhain or Samhain. I prefer Samhain. Now this is the start of the Celtic New Year. It is at the beginning of winter rather than the middle of the same that we are used to, and was certainly a big day of celebration. In fact, the word Samhain does mean summer's ending. They also believed that the barrier between this world and the other was at its thinnest at this time of year, and that things could cross over and cause mischief, or far worse. The most famous of these tales was that of Albion of the Flaming Breath, who came every year at Samhain and lulled the people of Tara in Ireland to sleep with his music, and would then proceed to burn down the town. He was only defeated by the great Irish hero Finn McCool in one of his many tales that my friends at Tales of the Heart tell quite often at this end of the year. I heartily recommend checking them out on Facebook. They do some brilliant storytelling there. So the idea of otherworldly things walking the earth has been around for quite a long time. Also, being the time where summer died and gave way to winter, it was a time of change, so many things were expected to happen. One person noted that at this time of the year, the mist and the dew tended to make cobwebs more visible, so it looked like a veil had fallen on the land. Could be the idea of where things were coming closer to this world. The festival may have also been to worship the Green Man, who governed the turn of the seasons, or prevented the warring queens of summer and winter from causing harm to the people on Earth in their battles. Quite possible, and certainly this is a time for all manner of pagan rituals as well. Most particularly, some believe that witches practice their dark powers at this time of year, while some may have and still do perform rites, rituals, and festivals at this time of year. Whether they are dark or not is a matter of debate. Also, it's worth mentioning, whilst witchcraft does call on gods of old and the devil himself sometimes, others call on Yahweh, and it's important to remember that not all witches are dark or inherently evil. The practices around the Festival of Samhain could take advantage of the closeness of the other world to power certain spells, but I don't know much about witches or Wiccan traditions, so I need to do some more research on this. I recommend you do the same. Another thing to remember is that their darkest festival, Black Sabbath, is at Rudmas, which is far darker and is performed in April. So at the far end of the year. This end of the year, being synonymous with darkness and evil, isn't as cut and dry as some might think, though certainly a lot of darkness does happen around this time of year, purely because the nights are drawing in. One thing remains throughout the years, however, regardless of culture, traditions, or indeed the original intent. This time of year is for remembering. The Norman Christians, who were around during the fabled Arthurian times, had the festival of Samhain as a time to remember their ancestors, again believing the other world was closer at this time of year, although they believed the other world was where their ancestors went after death. This is quite possibly the origin of All Souls, All Saints, and All Hallows. Hallowmas was the original name for All Saints' Day, since the saints were hallowed in the eyes of the Catholic Church at the time. All Souls was for the souls of recent departed, who may not have reached heaven yet. Both these days line up next to each other in the Christian calendar, so you can celebrate All Saints and then All Souls. Though All Saints was on what we now call Halloween or Hallows Eve. It's not just Christian-based festivals that honour the dead. Many cultures have a form of ancestor worship, where they remember their ancestors and look for them for guidance, like the Maori of New Zealand and even some African tribes. Whether they have specific festivals for those ancestors is unknown, certainly to me at least. The Native Americans had a practice of not saying the name of the departed for 5 days. 5 days. Possibly because they feared if they said the name, the spirit would respond and return to haunt them. What do you expect? In Mexico, they have the Day of the Dead. Whilst I know there's a Spanish term for it, I cannot remember how to pronounce it, so I'm not going to try. And they even have a massive parade, a massive festival to go along and remember their ancestors. Even in modern traditions of recalling the dead, they are at this end of the year, though in this case it could be put by accident, because Remembrance Day and the Sunday service of that day is on the day that World War I ended, November the 11th, 1918. Whilst originally called Armistice Day, where they lay down their arms for the final time, it has become time to remember those who gave their lives fighting for their countries. an interesting time and a very important one as well. The old saying, "Least we forget," rings true across the years, not just for those who are on war memorials, but for those who had gone before, and who we will never know. As the late Terry Pratchett put in his books, if we don't know where we come from, then we don't know where we are. If we don't know where we are, then we don't know where we're going. And if we don't know where we're going, we're probably going wrong. Through stories, books, and looking at where we come from, we make ourselves who we are. My beloved grandmother, she had many wonderful beliefs, and they influenced me an awful lot. I remember her every time I do one of these essays. The past is to be remembered and learned from, but it's also worthwhile remembering that we are not alone in this world. Be it that the good Lord is guiding our way, things from another land are thought to cause problems and come through, or our long-gone relatives are watching over us. We are never truly alone. There may be a comfort or a concern, but we would do well to remember that, regardless of who they are. And so I say to those who are in mourning for a dead relative or a dear friend, even those who are gone are with us as we go on. What we have learned is that the past is interesting and has lots to give us, but also that some things at this end of the year come back to us, like an old person reminiscing about the old days in the twilight of their years. As this year begins to die, we will do very well to remember what came before and who to thank for our time today. If you spent that time watching this video, I thank you very much indeed. I shall be going into more detail about a particular person who we need to remember next week. If you're interested in that, please click below and find the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with that video. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, that's where the thumbs down button is. Either way, that gives me some feedback. Plus, if you have any other ideas for things that you want to cover, please leave them in the comments below. I will be reading them. Just please keep any discussions civil. Until the next time, seasonal greetings, stay safe, and God be with you, my friend.